Most ACL rehabbers are told this statement: just hit 90% symmetry and you're good to go for sports. You probably heard that before, right? Unfortunately, you can hit perfect symmetry and you still won't be ready for sports and activities. In fact, some of the people that look good and most balanced on paper are the ones who end up re-tearing or re-injuring their ACL. And I'll dive into this a little bit later. Let me show you why symmetry numbers are deceiving and they can lie to you, and what actually matters if you want to confidently get back to running, jumping, and playing again. Hello, my name is Josh. I've been a performance physical therapist for over 10 years, and now I've helped over 120 ACL rehabbers achieve their dream active life to get them back to running, jumping, and playing again. Let's dive into it. When we talk about 90% symmetry, we often talk about the quad strength, hamstring strength, or even some hop testing. Or even worse, some doctors will check you visually, they check your muscles side to side, and they think that's going to be sufficient to get you back to sport. Symmetry only tells you the legs are similar. It doesn't tell you if either one is actually good enough. This is why so many ACL rehabbers hit that 95% symmetry target, but yet they still feel slow, hesitant, and not confident when they get back to the sport field or whatever sport they want to get into. See, symmetry looks good on paper, but real life and performance happens on the field, in hiking fields, in sport, in chaotic situations that doesn't always translate to paper. Here's where it gets interesting. There's a 2017 paper that I will link below that assessed ACL athletes at 6 months post-op. And the findings are really surprising. 57% passed the 90% target, but only 28% matched their pre-injury capabilities. And 8 out of 11 people in that study ended up re-injuring their ACL, and they were the ones who passed the 90% symmetry mark. Let me say that again. The people who ended up re-injuring their ACL were the ones who passed the symmetry test. So that tells us that symmetry doesn't actually protect us from anything. It actually hides us. It's a disguise to hide the deficits. Here's why symmetry can be misleading. After an ACL injury, both legs get weaker, specifically the injured side, as we know. The surgical side loses strength from the surgery potentially and the injury. There's a cascade of events that happen that lead to the surgical side or the injured side being weaker. The uninjured side actually loses strength as well. And this is because we often decrease our activity levels. We end up walking less, running less, we do less things overall, which essentially leads to the uninjured side getting weaker. So what happens? Both sides get weaker, right? If we only strengthen the injured side, yes, we might have good symmetry because on paper it might look like they're equal. But really what happened was we got way weaker on the uninjured side, and our injured side is only catching up to a weaker baseline. So we're not truly strengthening our need to the fullest capability that you should be doing, right? Because we know that sport and all the things that you want to do is going to be at a high level. So if we both deflate, if we look at the injured side here, uninjured side here, if we deflate our strength after injury or after surgery, we know that if we don't pump up both sides, then we're just comparing week to week. This is why I meet so many ACL rehabbers at 6 months, 7 months, even 12 plus months, still saying that they're not feeling strong and confident, even though they've hit their symmetry numbers. And that's because symmetry doesn't tell us the full story. So what truly matters? Well, we've got to measure actual output, absolute force outputs. This means, according to your body weight, you should be producing a amount of force in relation to your body weight. We also have to look at force time metrics. Essentially what we're doing is we're producing force at high speeds. Within a second, less than a second, when we're sprinting, we're changing directions. That doesn't happen over 10 seconds when you're just producing force maximally. We've got to look at different metrics like braking RFD, rate of force development, landing capacity, peak force, stiffness, reactive strength, time to take off, things like that. All these things can be measured on devices like force plates, for example, or the Biodex might give us a pretty good example of max force production. So to recap, symmetry does matter, but it's not the end goal. It's not the checkpoint, right? We take that symmetry number and we've got to make sure we also have to hit other metrics as well, including power, braking, landing, stiffness, peak force, a bunch of other metrics that we have to combine to decide whether you're ready or not to go back to sport. If you're rehabbing from this ACL injury and you want to understand the full pathway of how I get my clients to get them back to jumping, running, and playing confidently, then watch the video below. I'll link it below. It's a 5-minute video basically explaining how the process that I take, right? To make sure that we're not just looking at symmetry, but we're also looking at peak force, we're looking at timing, we're looking at movement qualities to make sure that everything is checked off. Not only for a safe return to sport, but for you to feel optimized, for you to feel confident when you're back playing whatever it is that you want to do. So if you're interested, I'll link the video in the description below. I'll see you in the next one.